It's going to be 420k.
That would be beautiful. If we literally hit 69k top and then 420 top, I'm like, Elon is Satoshi and he is fucking with us. He's literally he's convinced us this is the next evolution of money, and it's literally just a meme to him, and we're all gonna feel very silly.
Boom, we are back. It was going to be just myself, Ebony and Ivory, Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the excellence of execution. But guess who showed up? No, not Mrs. No Show, aka Mrs. No Show, Dr. Evil 10%, which maybe not the people's champ. If he carries on, maybe flip-flopping, saying, oh, I'm going to turn up, I'm not going to turn up. Who knows if I'm going to be there? But he is back from his Fiat holiday. You want to talk you want to talk to us about it?
I'm too upset.
You got fleeced by Santa, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, these fiat problems which just aren't going away. But unfortunately, we're not on a Bitcoin standard in the Dr. Evil 10% household.
Not laying down the law. You know, there was New York. Then we've had Finland. Like anywhere else? Or we had
well, we talked about it, but that Mrs. Evil wants to go to Disney in the next few years, and that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one, and she still refuses to read the Bitcoin standard, despite Mr. All-In's wedding gift. It's just, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll wait until next year. I think there's going to be a big shift next year. So let's just wait. Be like, I fucking told you to read it. You need to read it. Change your mindset.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's one of them where you just go, I do get it. I get the fact, especially when the kids are involved. I get it. But you just got to go, Jesus Christ! Like, if you did like put it into Bitcoin the next couple of years, it's going to be crazy, right? You look back in a couple of years and go, how much does that holiday cost you? Because you got to denominate it in sats, right? What would that have cost you if you'd have put that into sats today or last week? You know, in 2 or 3 years' time, you can probably add a zero, at least 1 0, maybe 2 zeros to the back of that and go, whoops. Whoopsie.
It's painful. It's painful enough in fiat. I'm comfortable talking about it. Never mind putting it into sats in future years, especially after the ETF and the kind of like I don't know what they're going to call it, the investment boom, the investment bull run. I mean, what's it going to be?
They call it
like the Wall Street money.
Sorry.
They call it trade fi, but I don't really like the term. But yeah, they think trade fi is coming in. Like the basically the big hitters, like obviously everyone's traded crypto and Bitcoin since launch, right? But the real big boys that do the majority of trading, like Wall Street, haven't.
So I suppose while we're on this, so we've had it's tulips, we've had it's a fad. We're coming up to 4th kind of like big halving here. So we've had 2013, which was there a particular name for it?
What do you mean? That would weirdly that was an ETF one as well, but the ETF it was one of the first ETFs and it failed. Oh no, it was 2013 actually. It's Mt. Gox. It was Mt. Gox, and it was the collapse of Mt. Gox.
And then we had 2017, which is a retail boom, and then 2021, which was just a general crypto, wasn't it? That was the real like
NFTs. I thought Bitcoin,
but I mean, with Bitcoin, it was kind of like it's where it really
that one was Saylor and Elon Musk. It was meant to be people putting businesses putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet.
Yeah, and then obviously a company adopting a joint Bitcoin standard. So you kind of got the next one where it's going, well, Wall Street, but it's potential more countries, it's potential more balance sheets.
Oh,
I
actually, yeah, it
suppose.
was that as well. It was El Salvador and
Correct.
Sailor and Elon 2021. So it was countries and businesses. And now it's pension funds, isn't it?
Yeah,
ETFs.
so I think next year, maybe the actual time when Mrs. Evil may actually read the bloody book.
Yeah. The thing to remember, actually, going through those things, every single like theme as to why Bitcoin was going up ended up being proven wrong, but the price still was kept stepping up. Right? Because the thing is, all those
But what's
reasons
gonna
are just
what's gonna be the excuse? You know how it's fired up again. How is it going to be a tulip this time?
well, I don't think they're going with that one. I think they seem to be going on there. Oh no, it is good money, but it's funding terrorism and causing climate change.
Mm.
So
Because like the
that's why,
tulip surely died off after the second time, but they're still pulling it out on the third.
yeah.
I think it's at that stage though where, based on, as we said, the trade fight, they will try to run with that narrative so that they can actually accumulate more. So it's the fear mongering and the scaremongering so that they can do the trade on the other side, because they actually get it. They get that they need to be and want to be involved in this.
Yeah, you're going to need the large assets in order to have the same level of control that you have now. So they're going to have to
Yeah.
try and get it. But the problem with like BlackRock going in, there's only so much available. But then again, I suppose everyone does have their moon. But ultimately,
Mm.
as it gets more and more squeezed, they're going to have to pay more and more, till it's unreasonable amounts.
Yeah, and
Maybe,
as
for
we know
them,
as
it
well,
doesn't matter.
yeah, and hopefully they stay true to that, right? Because one of the reasons why gold is pretty much stagnated as an asset for the last couple of decades, it's only barely gone up with inflation, is because there's paper gold out there now. So they inflate the quantity of gold as comes the demand. So they pretty much keep the price largely
But
stagnant.
it's
They
also
could, in theory, do that with Bitcoin, right? Because if literally trillions come in and buy Bitcoin on the BlackRock ETF, we are assuming that their word is true, that they will buy that equivalent amount of Bitcoin off the network
Mm.
and not just give them paper Bitcoin. So they could end up
the
they could
other thing
either
about
be the
gold
funnel
is
that sends us to the moon, or they could be the funnel that takes a load of Bitcoin money and suppresses it and just
Yeah.
gives paper Bitcoin back. And they're like, yeah, when you come to sell it. But really, they know that they've suppressed the price at a thing because it won't go above it because they
Mm.
are the demand now. So ideally, we need.
I suppose you can see how much money BlackRock has. 'Cause you'd be like, well, what's your bloody wallet? Or at least you can identify one of the whale wallets. But the fact is, you don't know how much money is sitting within the Bitcoin ETFs, which is on their side. So you never be able to say, oh yeah, there's 1 billion, therefore it must be X amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah, weirdly,
Um,
I think you will. That's the one thing you will be able to see. You'll be able to see how much money is in the BlackRock ETF. I'm pretty sure they will make that public, but you won't. I don't think they will give the transparency to go, right, show me the Bitcoin that backs that up one to one. I
it's
don't
an
think that.
interesting one because we'll only know when it happens, but
Yeah.
it won't be fully transparent. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. Well,
But kind of
if like $1 trillion
on
ends up in the BlackRock ETF and Bitcoin isn't over like 500,000, then they're scamming. It's just basic. Right? It's just
but one which you mentioned then about gold comparison, there's not 21 million gold.
no,
We've been through gold companies
True.
before, and their reserves have grown. Oh yeah, we're producing 2% gold per year. It's like, well,
no.
how come how come your reserves are increasing by 200% every year? So technologies ruin gold. Not only is the fact that there's paper gold, there's also technology means that they can mine a lot more gold than they're letting on.
Oh yeah. Like that is undoubtedly a reason as well. It's just that they have suppressed the price of gold.
Yeah, yeah, they
It's
have.
well documented that there's lots of paper gold out there that is not backed one to one with any rock. Like because because obviously that they have a fake amount of volume of gold, right? That I don't agree with, just like you there. Like I think they have an absolute truckload of it stuck in various
Yeah.
mines and they leave them in there. They don't want to mine that gold and make it public because it would crush the price of gold. But if we just assume that bit isn't true and
Yeah,
just
but
go, let's
you
just
look
believe
at
them.
their balance sheet. The balance sheet shows it that their reserves shoot up every year, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. It's just really convenient. It's really convenient. It's like what are the odds on it always being 2% every year? It's like, come on, like you're gonna have a 10-20% year, you're gonna find a huge shit. But no, it's always two. Yeah, so someone's gaming this, right? It's just they're just feeding the demand without cratering the price. But there's definitely some manipulation going on in the private market to make sure that gold doesn't become a genuine hedge against inflation and an option against fiat. They make it just pretty much keep up with fiat. But Bitcoin's
I also think
not in that
that
way.
is to increase the story that, and not to say that it's not, but that gold is so hard to come by, and the scarcity of gold as well, and obviously the work that is involved, i.e., the proof of work that is involved to get gold. Whereas we all know, because we covered it many pods ago, when there was the discovery of the large gold mine that was half of the gold that is out
What
there.
the hell happened? What ever happened to that? That's disappeared.
It's weird. Yeah, it's really weird because it was out there. It was corroborated on numerous sites, but ultimately, if that goes truly viral, then the price of gold should actually drop because, unlike Bitcoin, it isn't a finite asset. It can continue on. We may find gold from a meteorite or an asteroid that, or again, we could effectively create gold
Yeah,
as well as
alchemy is.
continuing to find it.
We're not far off alchemy at the moment. The only
No.
thing about creating gold out of just the raw components at the moment, it costs more to do the alchemy than the gold you get at the other end. That is purely a time thing. If you
Yeah.
fast forward probably 10 years, probably max, we've figured out that solution where it's cheap enough to just slam these elements together and make gold.
Mm.
Because it's via like nuclear fusion. Because gold is just a number of elements, right? It's just at the moment
Yeah.
alchemy wasn't possible, and now it is possible. It just costs more to do the
Well,
alchemy.
let's just rephrase that. It's not a number of elements. An element is like from a periodic table. It's just electrons.
Yeah, well,
Neutron.
atoms, electrons, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, but there's a number of things that don't know whatever makes up gold. Yeah, we couldn't make gold out of its core components before. Now you can take whatever the components are. I'm pretty sure it's things like freaking iron and blah blah blah. There's like three or four different elements. You slam them together with your nuclear fission and you get gold. So it's possible now. It's just that it costs you something like 10 times the amount of energy than the gold you get at the end. So it's a fool's errand to do that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the future it won't be, as we know, like everything costs a huge amount when you first figure it out, and then technology evolves, and someone will just be able to do it with a clickable button, throw some freaking atoms or elements wherever they freaking are, make gold, and so yeah, so the gold's days are numbered, and but yeah, I don't even know how we got onto that. Should we go on to JPEGs?
Yeah, I was going to say let's get on to JPEGs and why high fees are back, or are they?
Yeah, so
Um,
Bitcoin fees have been going crazy this week. I've seen people, weirdly, I actually found I had some random Bitcoin on an exchange that I'd forgotten I'd even purchased. So I went, oh right, they like tripled in value or something. I'm like, oh holy shit, I
Was
forgot
this
these were
one of the
even there.
big? Was this one of the big whale moves which I saw on Twitter?
I
Whale
I
alert.
I wish.
yeah, my phone was going off from whale alert. Was that you again?
1 million coins moved. Just
Yeah.
forgot I had it.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that
Yeah,
1,000
just found
Bitcoin?
back of the sofa job.
I wish,
This
but no, I just
this will pay for when you pull.
but But yeah, I pressed withdraw on the exchange and it came out like £13 fees to send it. I was like, holy shit, like why is that so high? So I quickly went, the exchange scamming me here. Let's have a little look on, a Block Explorer and let's see what the average fees are at the moment. And true enough, the average fee was £13. And then a couple of days
Wow.
later, the average fee got to, I think it was about £30. And again, it's these freaking JPEGs, these ordinals just keep like coming back and just
But it's the fact that someone's got to be buying them.
not necessarily. It could just be crypto people with their millions that they've scammed before, creating fake liquidity, and also there's a load of ordinal people that have raised VC funding and quite a lot of VC funding. So again, they could just be spending that creating fake liquidity. There's numerous of them have got caught, like just as we all got exposed in the NFT thing, right? The NFTs went balloons, right? Like, the transactions on various NFT networks were through the roof, and it's like people have to be buying them, right? And by and large, nearly no one was. Like the first 1,000, 10,000 of these NFTs were just brought by the same people, just rinsing them around for huge prices, paying huge fees. And someone go, well, there's no one but paying this thing, buying this thing for 40 grand, paying £100 fee. That has to be real, right? They're losing £100 every time they send it. This is just going to miners. They can't get the mining fees back. Like, well, yeah, they will spend millions in fake fees to create a market. And once they get some people coming in and buying these JPEGs for 40, 50, 60,000 pounds, then they very quickly get into profit. So I believe the majority of the liquidity that is happening right now is completely fake. And occasionally there's some dumb money that slips in and a JPEG is genuinely bought for 40 grand. And well, good luck to that person because you ain't going to find a buyer because you think you're in a market of thousands. There's not. There's probably just dozens of you idiots just feeding one or two people running this thing. It's just because no one have you seen these ordinals, right? Someone posted something on Bitcoin Twitter, right? When it was I went through to this ordinal sales page, the cheapest one, they're going on there for like £20 and stuff like that. But the majority of them are in the thousands, and the big ones are in the tens of thousands. And they say they've been purchased multiple times. I'm like, there's no chance. Who are these people buying these things?
Are they like Bored Apes again?
Yeah, it's the same NFT bollocks. There's all the different types. It's all AI generated. It's like there's women ones, there's cartoon ones, there's ape ones. Oh, it's the same, literally the same generic. There's art ones. There's just random like dots. Like apparently, what is it? Damien Hirst. Supposedly he has some ordinals, and they're literally dots on a square, and every square looks identical. If you look at them, they actually are all different, but completely AI generated. And
so no work really involved.
and they all have really creative titles. Like they're all inspirational titles. Like like the meaning of life. Like think of me when I fall. Like all these really cool titles, and you go, wow. If you look at the titles, you go, I'd love to see the artwork that goes behind that title. It's a load of freaking polka dots on a white background with like blue, red, yellow, green dots. And there's about 100 dots on the screen. You get, and supposedly these are going for 5 to 20 grand a pop. Let's go. It's bollocks. But the whole story is well, the big story here is obviously we talked about him last week, Luke Dash Jr. And people are going, look, we need to scale back what happened in Taproot and get the op return shortened from the 80 characters down to 42, because that's what allowed these links to these dumbass JPEGs in there. Who's going, it's an attack on Bitcoin, it's spam, let's cut it back down. And there's a big debate here going, actually, we should just leave it. And Hodl here is the tweet that we've linked, which pretty much goes, look, yeah, okay, fine. The fees are high on layer one, because of this JPEG clownery. But in reality, this is just a glimpse into the future. In a couple of years, when Bitcoin is being used by multiple countries, the adoption has gone from like 2, 3, 400 million people to a couple of billion people. Layer one is going to get like this anyway. So we just need to deal with it on layer one and make sure layer two is better. If anything, this ordinal attack that's happening right now is giving us a stress test for when more people come into Bitcoin. So at the moment, people are kind of going, well, this is clunky. I don't want to pay the fees. I've tried to use Lightning. It's a bit crap. I couldn't get a payment through. Da, da, da. You go, well, we got a problem, haven't we? You either need to suck it up and pay the fee on layer one, or we need to figure out layer two. And it looks like layer two just isn't quite fit for purpose right now, according to what people are saying. A lot of people seem frustrated. It's worked for me. Every time I've used Lightning, I've had a couple of failed transactions, but every time I just tried it again, it went through. It's using my own node, it's using custodial nodes. So I don't hugely see the problem, but there seems to be a lot of people saying there is a problem and that Lightning doesn't work for them. And what I think it is a lack of knowledge in Lightning in reality. And hopefully, if anything, this is pushing people to Lightning more.
It just sounds like Lightning needs some improvements as it gets scaled up, is from my reading and understanding.
Yeah. I think there's a fundamental problem with the fact that with Lightning, obviously, you need to fund the channels. You need liquidity between the channels, and that is a very weird way of working, right? So,
well, it's almost, if you think about it, it's like they are the payment networks, but the payment networks with Lightning, you don't have all the direct routes, which is why, we always talk about Fediment as a kind of like layer above, and there's people working on that. So we got to go look at it is the evolution. The whole financial network has to be built, and it hasn't exactly been going a long time. So, maybe it's unreasonable to expect the kind of like Bitcoin Visa equivalent to be perfect within how many years is it now? Like 4 years?
yeah, it's been about 4. I think if anything, I think it's great. These kind of things are a good stress test because what we don't want is the attack to be from the States. And then we go, all right, they've made fees on layer one. Let's just say it's thousands of pounds to send a transaction on layer one of Bitcoin because the state have just completely filled the blockchain full of shit. And they have infinite money, so they're just going to keep going. They're going to do it for like 3 years. They're going to keep the fees on Bitcoin so astronomically high. Even if you're super rich, sending a transaction is really going to sting, right? So we have to use layer two. And if layer two didn't work very well, we'd be in the shit. So this is a good little, it's almost like I see it as like a fire alarm. Like there's not a fire, but the fire alarm's off. Let's all go outside and see if we get out the building in 2 minutes and line up where we need to line up. And the fire alarm's gone off and everyone's freaking running around in circles. They're like, where's the door? Like, where do I line up? Like, we haven't got our shit together. Right? We don't know what the plan is. Layer two at the moment is like a luxury for us. It's not a necessity. And this is almost kind of pushing it to necessity. And hopefully it just gets us to nail our fire drill a little bit better and go, look, this is a nice little test run. This is a bullshit attack just from morons. When the big boys come and attack us, this is going to be for reals. And we need to freaking have our shit together and really know how to use Lightning and how to use layer two. So,
did you ever used to watch The American Office?
Yeah, oh yeah, I love that. Yeah,
I've never watched it.
The fire drill where the lady in the wheelchair is, and like they end up not taking her down the stairs because it's just like it's a drill. We don't really need to take you down the stairs.
that's the UK office.
Oh yeah, it's the UK one. That was it. Yeah, it's the UK. So we'll just leave you here. And, but we do need to get it in gear.
Yeah, I think that's literally what we're doing right now. Like,
yeah,
we're kind of leaving the person in the wheelchair upstairs, going like, "You don't need to come out." Like, when the time comes, we will get you out, but we kind of can't right now. Yeah. And then the problem is the fire starts and we can't get her out, and we're like, right, we should have done the drill properly, right? And
exactly,
that's kind of what we're doing now. We need to do the drill properly. Let's assume layer one is useless and we have to move to unless you're literally like almost a billionaire, like, and it's because I said the fees are thousands. Let's say that they're tens of thousands, right? And now you're going, right, you unless you're literally sending a million Bitcoin or £1 million worth of Bitcoin from one place to another, you're not going to be spending 10, 20, 30K on a transaction, right? You're going to have to use Lightning, which is basically free. Does Lightning work for you on the transaction you want to do? We need to like have stress tested all that. And the good thing is this JPEG clownery, it's helping us test it.
And obviously, as well, and it goes back to our whole, we're still at the early stages, is because Lightning isn't necessarily on the lips of everybody in the Bitcoin world. Obviously we are, but things like ledgers are still, new ledgers are still coming out as we regularly review as and when they do come out. And it just goes to show how early all of this is. This is, the fundamentals of what effectively will become the new money.
Yeah. It's got shit together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's come on to the next feel-good story, which is El Salvador announced a $1 million cost citizenship for Bitcoiners. So, if you would like to become a citizen of El Salvador, you can do, but it's going to cost you the princely sum of 1 million, either Tether, USDT, or Bitcoin. And obviously, Bitcoin at this current today's price. So, who knows what that will go to in the future by you giving up $1 million or $1 million in Bitcoin. What's your thoughts? Are you ready to do it? There's 1,000 citizenships worthy and ready to go.
It's obviously a fast track, but the fact is, if you're a rich motherfucker and you want to go to El Salvador, they're not going to say no, are they? Because it basically brings your wealth into the country to spend. That becomes their GDP. So then turn around and go, oh yeah, you're not willing to put £1 million into our coffers. They're just going to be like, doesn't matter. There's maybe just a status thing, for some of the absolute big boys to go where $1 million doesn't mean a thing to them.
Yeah. Rereading it as well in terms of the article in preparation is it's a pledge. So wealthy investors who pledge $1 million in Bitcoin or USDT. So perhaps you don't necessarily need to free it up immediately. But of course, if you can show that you've got the means to be able to do so, maybe it's just a case of, well, yeah, you hold on to it and perhaps they'll take something else. Ideally, of course, they want the Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think it, yeah, because you don't just buy citizenship, yeah, you have to invest it. Because it is disappointing because I think this is the most expensive one globally, right? So I looked into this in Puerto Rico because there's multiple ways of getting into a country and getting citizenship and then being allowed to live there. The easiest way of getting into any country is to marry someone from there. So a lot of people do that, right? You go on holiday somewhere, meet a local, marry them, you get citizenship, especially if you have a child with them as well. So we see that all over the UK, America. That's a classic way of getting in, is just to marry someone from the country and then you come in. And the second way is then to just go, well, I'll apply. I'll join the list. You can just, there's waiting lists for all these countries, provided you have skills that the country wants, and you are not got a criminal record, and you potentially have a job in the country lined up. You can just join a list and you can get in that way. And the third way is essentially it's for the rich. For the rich to jump the queue and you buy your way in through creating a company and investing in the country. And essentially, you have to employ a certain amount of people. So I looked into this in Puerto Rico, and their one was 500,000, and you had to have at least 3 employees and an office in Puerto Rico. So that was, and then it had to be a viable business. You couldn't just create anything. You had to like pitch it to them. They had to believe in your company. and then you had to employ at least 3 people and invest 500,000. So you had to spend 500,000 in one way or another. So that means you have to buy an office, pay employees, and then hire third party kind of contractors from the country, and pay them the amount of 500,000. And if you did all those things over a certain time frame, then at the end of that, you would get citizenship in Puerto Rico. So for them to have done 1 million here, it I hate to say it looks like they're profiteering off Bitcoiners, right? They're assuming there's a load of people that are rich and they'll just pay it. And
Yeah.
this is it's just silly. I think it's the most expensive one that you can get. Even the EU let you get in for 800K. And I hate to say it, but in the existing world, there's lots of people from around the world that the EU and America, like in America, for example, you can't get into America. There's no real amount to get into the main America. Puerto Rico is actually um the loophole to get into the main America, because Puerto Rico is an American jurisdiction. So one of the things that I was like almost seeing as a benefit at the time anyway, I wouldn't do it now, is you buy citizenship of Puerto Rico and then through proxy you become an American
Yeah, you passport it. Yeah,
as
cross
well, and you can
effectively.
just then bunny hop into the main America and then live in Florida or wherever you want. But why have they set it to 1 million? Why have they limited it to 1,000 people? Like, if they want
Yeah,
Bitcoiners to go there, they should have set this at like 50K and unlimited. Let's change the world here, right? Because what are people going to do when they come to your country? If they have millions in Bitcoin, they're going to spend it in the country once they're living there.
yeah, of course.
Don't make them sign a contract to say, no, 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 before I even join, I'm going to spend $1 million worth of my money on some business and spend it in the country. Fuck off. Like straight away, it rubs me up the wrong way straight away. It makes me just go, fuck off. And I don't think I don't think they'll even get 1,000 people to do this thing scheme.
You're
Yeah.
never going to spend that on that. You've got that
Uh,
pool to build with the marble floors.
Like weirdly, like I probably would go there and like spend like that type of money. Probably it's like over a number of years if I was going to buy a property, buy land, and then like we do it up and all that stuff. But the fact that they're mandating me to do it makes me go, no, I'm not doing it then. Like, let me just come.
It's
Let me
one of
buy my
these
way in nice and cheap. And you want me there. Like, your country is a shithole. Let's not forget, El Salvador is still a shithole and it needs rebuilding.
it's not quite as big a shithole.
Yeah, not quite as big. It still needs a lot of really
But
good
yeah,
people to come
it's
in and
almost
create
like
really
they're
strong
getting
businesses.
that. They're aiming for that generation of people who see things like that as a flex. Oh yeah, I'm one of 1,000.
Yeah.
So I
It's,
can say that. So I feel that like it's
Bitcoiners aren't that
for
though, are they? Yeah.
well, I don't know. You got a few. What's his name? The guy who'd what's it? Bitcoin the money you can't fuck with or whatever it's called.
Oh right, yeah, Jason Williams. Yeah, he's a shit coiner. He's not a Bitcoin.
But I mean, that's the type of person who I think it appeals to.
Yeah,
Being
exactly. And he is never moving to El Salvador. Like he's living in America on his big fucking estate with his Lambos. Like the real Bitcoiner is you like if you're moving to El Salvador, you're going there for the cause, aren't you? You're going there to
mm,
knowing that you're not going to live like a very luxurious lifestyle. You're going to almost like take a couple of steps back and be
yeah.
part of the rebuild. So if you're doing this for the flex, like do it somewhere else. Like flex getting into I don't know, Dubai or something. I don't know, like whatever country you want to flex in. Like El Salvador isn't a flex country.
I
So
was going to say,
everyone flexing $1 million, like on Bitcoin Twitter, for example, they're going to call you a dickhead for paying a government $1 million to move into their country. You go, what are you doing that for? Like, spend that on your family. Fuck.
this kind of feels very un-Salvadorian. Like one of the first things that from a country that has kind of done no wrong up to this point. It's very, yeah. I don't know. Is this the start of the end?
Who knows? I think they've literally, like we said just before we joined, like there's 1,000 people, it's 1 million Bitcoin. So oh look, it rounds up to the billion. If they
Yeah,
wanted to raise 1 billion, right? The best way of them doing that would have gone 10,000 people for 100 grand. I can almost guarantee they would have sold out instantly for that. But by putting it at 1 million, you go, the 10,000 people that would have bought it all just go, fuck you. You look like you're profiteering off us. What does this mean? Are you going to continue to do this? Are you going to continue to come after Bitcoiners and try and profiteer of us and get our money into the government coffers? Because if that's the case, well, you're no better than where we live at the moment, right? That's what we're fleeing. We're fleeing, government authoritarianism. So just, if anything, you should be paying me. You should be paying me 100 grand to come live in your country and to buy a home, buy land, do it up, create businesses, spend my money there, not charge me $1 million. It's the first big misstep, I think, from Mr. Bukulele. It's put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. It looks like he's kind of taking the piss out of Bitcoiners here, thinking we're stupid, and we ain't stupid. So.
Right, should we move on?
Yeah, and so hopefully some positive news.
Yeah, because
got a big one here.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
it must only been a month ago which we covered his first prediction, wasn't it?
Yep.
So he's doubled down on Bitcoin after what was the announcement for Fed?
So the person is Arthur Hayes, by the way, in terms of doubling down. So Arthur Hayes, the BitMEX co-founder, says that his prediction of a 2,222% gain still remains on track.
Which means Bitcoin will be a cheeky milli.
Oof. That's not a short-term time frame, is it? That's what did he say for a milli? Because immediately he was talking, was it 100 grand with ETF?
No, I think he said way more than that.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and have a look. It's been
It's been about a month, but I think the milli was more like in 10 years' time.
Guys, I'm not sure on that.
Okay. Yeah, because I do remember the story, but the time frame kind of escapes me.
Let's have a look. But yeah, but basically, yeah. There we go.
So he's also saying, was it Solana and Ethereum are going to go up as well?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I ignored that, but
I wouldn't even. Yeah.
The problem is, I don't even think he's wrong though. The sad thing is, I don't think he's wrong. Right? If Bitcoin does what he says it was,
2026, by the way.
2026, yeah. So not that. It's like 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I think he literally said it was going to get something like 750, then plummet, and then go a million a couple of years later.
There seems to be a little bit of disconnect with Ethereum and Bitcoin lately, but it's always rally with Bitcoin. So yeah, it just will follow it along with all the other shit coins which haven't dissolved. So we're going to see, Doge probably have all-time highs. We're going to see SHIB. We're going to see God knows what else fly up. I just don't know what's still solvent in the world of shit coins.
Yeah, the funny thing, even this article, right, basically goes, Bitcoin's going to go up 2,000%. And his prediction is that Ether Solana will soar more than 32% from its current value. You go, it's going to go up 32%. So, okay, it is going to go up.
So in the space of
Bitcoin is going to go up 2,000%. They're going up 30%.
30% your bets. It's not bad in the space of 3 years. It'll beat bonds.
Just about keep up with inflation.
Yeah, well, we don't know. It depends what they actually do over the next 3 years. It could be another 40% year. They go, yeah, it's for your good. That we're going to make you poorer. But yeah, it's nice bullish prediction after kind of like negative last story about El Salvador.
But it's also a bullish prediction from somebody who's very credible as well in terms of the world of Bitcoin. So let's see.
And by the way, he's basing the prediction off the back of what the Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve has said recently. But essentially, there's a lot of people that thought that they would be continuing to pump the rates and cut spending. But he suggested that he's going to cut the rates and increase spending. So if he does that, basically money printer go burr, that money hits the market. Smart people take that money, put it into Bitcoin. That's what happened last time. That's where we we
Yeah.
talked about why did the 2021 boom happen, right? And I think potentially why it doesn't make sense when we say, oh, it was Saylor, Elon, and El Salvador. Yeah, none of those things carried out, right? So El Salvador didn't lead to more countries. Saylor and Elon didn't lead to more companies buying Bitcoin, but Bitcoin went freaking through the roof. Really, what was happening back then was money printer go burr because it was the beginning of lockdown. Everyone sat at home earning 80% of their money for free, printed by the banks.
Am I handing out $800 stimmy checks?
Yeah. So that money, a lot of it, ended up in Bitcoin, and we went through the moon. So Arthur's basically just being like, "All right, they're about to start printing again. People are getting a bit bored. They don't like these high rates. It's stopping people taking debt. People don't want to take new mortgages. Interest rates are sky high. No one's got any money to save, so they don't care about the benefit of saving. The cost of living is through the roof. It's stopping people from upping their cards, upping their houses, and the bankers want their freaking pound of flesh. So Jerome Powell's pretty much come out recently and gone, I'll make it happen. I'll reduce the rates by printing a fuck ton of new money. Once that is all sloshing around again, guess what people start doing? They start buying shit they don't need. And
And they've got to do it in
which
time for the election, haven't they? Which is
But
2024
this is,
November.
I was just about
Exactly.
to say, this is perfect timing for the election because, of course, when the election comes, everyone needs that feel-good feeling so that they vote for the right person.
They've got the big problem that in order to, well, suppress isn't the right word, but keep the petrol price down, they've had to use their strategic reserves, and they're currently running up the strategic reserves. So fuel price is going to go through the roof. So they do need something to happen. Otherwise, well, it's a thing which Americans seem to notice is the fuel price.
Yeah.
That's going to cause big issues if they don't get that sorted out. So maybe the money printer being turned back on is the way.
Yeah. Interesting as well. Just going back to the prediction, and I appreciate we rarely, if ever, talk about price, but it does. I do recall Kathy Wood from ARK. Her prediction is $1.5 million for Bitcoin price per Bitcoin, but by the year 2030. So Arthur Hayes is saying $1 million by 2026. Maybe she's being super conservative, as I also have heard her say that, and it would be a lot more, but that's her time frame.
Yeah. I love this bull run, right? Because the last bull run was we hope we can hit 100K, like 100K is in target. This bull run, no one's mentioning 100K. It's just
No.
everyone's saying the milli, right? And so if the same thing plays out, right? So we said 100K last time, didn't hit the 100K, we hit 69. So what's going to happen this time? Oh, we're not going to hit a milli, we'll just hit 690K. Oh, god damn it. Only 690K a coin.
It's going to be 420K.
That would be beautiful. If we literally hit 69K top and then 420 top, I'm like, Elon is Satoshi and he is fucking with us. He's literally he's convinced us this is the next evolution of money, and it's literally just a meme to him, and we're all gonna feel very silly. But I really hope we don't hit 420. If we hit 420 and then it fucking rockets down from there, I'm gonna start smelling a rat and going, Elon, you fucker. Like, just stop messing about. I'm here for a freaking revolution, and you're just doing it for lol. But anyway, we've got Gary Gensler up next, and we've got a couple of interviews from good old Gaza
talking about him.
Yeah, well, he's just obviously he's in the only reason he's in the news at the moment is because it's him and the SEC. Gary Gensler, he's the head of the SEC. and they get to approve the ETFs. So obviously everyone, and really the predictions right now are that every single ETF, Bitcoin ETF, will get approved in January. That is the rumor, because I think there's 15 currently in process.
That's right.
So the theory is that they're going to approve all 15 in January. So we have his first interview we have with him here, and I think he's just come down from a big talk about the economy and da da da. And the first question this journalist puts into him is, "So you're going to approve the Bitcoin ETF?" And he gets proper triggered, and he's like, "What? Like what? Why is that the question? You know, the SEC oversee tens of trillions of a market. We have this, we have that, we have. Why are you asking me about this tiny product that doesn't really matter? Like, why don't you ask
Because
about
it's
this
the
and
most
this and this?"
fascinating.
And the
And
journalist
that's
kind of
what
goes,
people want.
"Well, yeah, but what about Bitcoin ETF?" And he just goes, "We manage tens of trillions over multiple products and stocks and bonds," and it's like didn't answer the question at all, refused to comment on the Bitcoin ETF at all. Which straight away I think it for me it fires off like two things. It's like number one, he doesn't want to comment on it too much because maybe that he is triggered, that he's annoyed that the Bitcoin ETF is getting so much attention. Or number two, he knows now. He knows the decision and doesn't want to comment on it because he knows essentially it's as good as approved. And they've agreed that internally.
He can't say no to
they're just
BlackRock, can he?
they're just well, of course. So
Larry Fink
likelihood
would
is
have Gary
already
Gensler's
approved
pants
the
down
stuff.
by his ankles. It's like no chance. He can't go against the thing.
No, he's a puppet anyway. We know Gary's a puppet.
Yeah.
The
I
SEC
just
don't
go,
decide shit. When people like BlackRock come in, they go, yeah, put your fucking pencils away. Here's the report. You've approved it. But
yeah, it's just a bit of a bizarre one. Like Gary Gensler,
It,
he's more like a wannabe celebrity than an actual you know, someone
Well,
who's
it's the
meant to
power
actually be quite
trip, isn't
powerful.
it? It's that power trip of that. But from what I gathered from this, and it's like it gets to that stage where when you get that math problem where you can't do it in your head. Of just think if all 15 get approved, they all will buy some form of Bitcoin. So what does the price actually go to when you actually sit down and think, well, BlackRock, they're the biggest, so therefore, obviously infinite pockets, right? They're going to get some. And then, Fidelity were on there. I always remember this, and shout out to Digital Dad. It's on page 69 of Digital Dad's book of all of the companies and the investment companies that are out there waiting for the CTF. Invesco were another picture that
It's
springs to
just
mind.
it's just going to be a bizarre year next year, waiting for this to
Yeah,
happen. And I'm always going, it can't happen. But how is this going to not happen? Um, if it does happen, then I just can't see it not going absolutely insane again.
there we go. Awesome.
Fidelity, Vanek, Wisdom Tree, Valkyrie, Invesco, Bitwise, Galaxy, Arc, BlackRock. Yeah.
So, question for Mr. All In: when the ETF goes through, how big is your pool going to be then?
Going to be the size of the Indian Ocean.
It's going to fit. It's going to have a shipping lane in it.
Oh, because yeah, it's if they all got approved, it's one of those, isn't it? Where is it a sell the news thing, or is it oh no, now the demand starts coming in? Because I can't imagine that like day one these ETFs get released. I can't imagine all these pension funds suddenly go, oh my God, we need a 1% allocation to Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it's not so. It's going to be an ETF. People are going to buy it here, there, everywhere. People are going to add like 1% to their portfolio because it doesn't mean a lot and it might be worth
Yeah,
something.
I
And I
give
just
it a
think
boom.
it's going to
Give it a
balloon.
boom. Yeah,
You're going
and
to
the
have so many.
FOMO.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, oh yeah, let's throw in this I don't know, new investment. It's going to have fintech, and in the fintech, it's going to have a slice of Bitcoin as well to make it sexy, to make it differentiated. And like I said, I just can't quite wrap my head around it. It just feels a bit like dream state at the moment. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of like, I just can't make sense of what's going to happen. I don't really trust it. I don't like the fact that these companies are getting in, like BlackRock. It's the same as that Argentinian president. I smell a rat on both.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean though. Even the things you listed there, right? When the ETF gets launched, they're not ready to make the decision now. Like the ETF gets launched and they suddenly go, "Oh, I want an allocation," but how long does it take them? Does it take them a week? Does it take them a month? Does it take them 2 months? And so yeah, so I think there's going to be some volatility. Is
I
pretty much
think
what I'm
you're
saying.
gonna.
I think we're gonna balloon up if the thing happens, we'll balloon up, and then suddenly we're going to realize, oh shit, we went too high. We'll come back down, and then we'll settle. And then once people figure out, oh, actually, we do want a position, which could be 6 months or a year into the ATF being live, then I think just very serious DCA accumulation is potentially going to happen from pension funds where they go, oh, actually, we want a 1% allocation for this fund. And then, oh, actually, that fund has asked for it as well, 1% in that. And then that is when the demand is just going to really start to snowball. And it's,
Yeah, it's possibly
Yeah.
going to take 6 months to a year to actually kick in properly, but you are going to have that first month or
we're going to have a
two
hype.
where everyone's speculating, they're trying to front load ahead of everyone getting in to make their
Yeah.
profit, and
Yeah.
it's going to balloon, and then you're going to end up with people going, "Oh shit, I've made a mistake by investing." They'll sell, they'll make a loss, they'll swear about Bitcoin, then literally 6 months later, the companies will go in and they'll be like, "Oh, whoops," and we'll have another bunch of people who can't admit that they're wrong because they hate Bitcoin. We've seen it on the other cycles. It's just going to be rinse and repeat again.
If my, I've just thought this through now, but my prediction is we'll moon when this announcement happens and it will just go nuts. We'll go into hundreds of thousands. But then the first quarter will happen and a BlackRock or a VanEck or a Fidelity or something like that will put out their first like report on how many people have bought the ETF in the last quarter. And the numbers will be so underwhelming that everyone will go, oh, the ETF was nothing. And then we'll crater.
So you reckon over 100K from initial news
Yeah.
announcement, and we're going to sink back down,
Yeah. And then we'll wait another couple of quarters, volume will pick up, and then it's
and we'll peak at
yeah,
420.
420K.
Do you
It,
think that they create that on purpose, knowing that they can then suppress the price to buy in at lower and then obviously go
well,
again?
I think
I
it's
think
not
it's
going
a
to go back to
market.
what it is now. I think literally now
Mm,
that they're buying already, because I don't think it comes back down to the price which it is after people start going, because you're going to get people who wait, but you will get the idiots who go in and buy and then go, "Oh shit, it's gone down, better sell." They make like a
yeah.
30 grand loss, and they swear about Bitcoin, tell everyone it's shit and they shouldn't buy it, and they go off and buy SHIB or something. But you know, they YOLO'd in, they gambled, and they tried to time the market,
Yeah.
and
But,
surprise, surprise, you lost.
but who knows? There's a lot of people on Bitcoin Twitter, which admittedly I'm already immune to this, right? I heard this in 2013 and I also heard it in 2017. They heard it in 2021, which is this is the final cycle. This is where Bitcoin goes up forever. We flip to a Bitcoin standard. This is hyper Bitcoinization happening. People are saying that now about this one, and I look at this and just
Okay.
go, like BlackRock isn't our end goal. Like what the fuck are we
I
saying?
think when we start
This is
hitting
classic
double,
volatility.
we need to sort, you know, there need to be improvements made on Lightning. There needs to be further nation state adoptions, you know, double figure nation state adoptions to even consider it's going to be
We
the
need
final
citizens.
cycle.
We just need people. I don't even care about nations. I just want people. We haven't got enough
Yeah. But I
people.
feel like in order to get people,
Mm,
you need the nations. You need more
And we
countries like
need,
El Salvador.
I think we do. I think we just need the nations to go into hyperinflation and then the people jump in.
Yeah, but you end up with countries banning it like Argentina did before Milei, and Erdogan and Turkey, the countries who really need it, have had it banned.
Yeah, that will happen. Yeah. It's just a very obviously an obvious attack against people fleeing the fiat currency and hyperinflation, you ban the ways out of it. But yeah. Oh yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to nations accepting it. It's just I just want people adopting it, and I want people adopting it before it gets to that point, right? It's
Yeah.
it still feels like we've only got a couple of 100 million Bitcoiners, and even that number seems big. We need billions of Bitcoiners. We need to be like just walking around our day-to-day world, and just bumping into Bitcoiners everywhere. That I feel that it will be like, yeah, we've pretty much won now. We're still at the moment.
In a
I
niche
mentioned the
little.
Bitcoin in a random like conversation down at the school or whatever. Like they look at me like I'm freaking got three heads. And it's like we're so far away from hyper Bitcoinization, at least in the UK. It's like people just still think like, oh, I thought you were a nice guy. I didn't know you were a scammer and a racist. It's like, oh, just for fuck's sake. I mentioned Bitcoin.
Fucking Nazi.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Do that for the views.
Yeah.
but yeah, but there's the second video we got of Gary is him actually he came on to talk about Bitcoin and he slightly shares a little bit of insight as to why everyone thinks it's going to get approved in January, basically, which is um basically he said that we've passed in the past denied a number of these applications, but the courts here in DC weighed in on that. So we're taking a new look at this based upon these court rulings. He doesn't go into the detail as to what the fuck this is, but essentially, because as we know, right, the ETF filings before have been very thorough and are
Yeah.
just Bitcoin ETFs. And the way the SEC has denied this has gone, well, we think Bitcoin is manipulated, it is too volatile for the retail investors, and we will not approve this ETF based on that. We want to protect investors. So what he's saying here is, oh, the courts have told us to like overlook certain things. So based on this new set of rules, we're looking at these applications in a new way. Because I was wondering, what was the BlackRock ETF going to say that all the dozens of ETF applications before didn't? Like, what is this magic thing? So what
Yeah,
he's
we did say
basically
that.
admitting here is that the rules have changed. I know, and guess why the rules have changed? Because freaking BlackRock came in, and now suddenly every ETF that got
You just sound like a conspiracy theorist there.
Gary Gensler is literally on here fucking admitting it right now. Like, he's as much as saying the rules were XYZ at the before. BlackRock came in, so we changed the rules to ABC. So now everything gets approved. So it's convenient for you
I
now.
mean, it's obviously let's wait and see on what's said, but it's a good prediction to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, January will
It's
be.
recorded.
I think the new year, 2024, the beginning of 2024 is going to be a fucking good year for Bitcoiners. We're going to get this up.
So, talking
Market's
about
going to be.
talking about predictions, the next story. I mean, I've only glanced through it, haven't had the chance to read it. Ledger compromised by a shitcoin app. Did we predict this?
Mm, yeah. So
Yeah,
we,
I think we said it was a big problem because it was bringing all these apps into the store
yeah, we
for,
did.
and we said that it was a potential security flaw, and it seems to have happened. I mean, I've scanned the article, so I'm not the best to comment on it, but I just thought we talked about this and we said that it was a potential issue, and it seems to be an issue.
That was it. So we were talking about, I think it was at the time when Ledger had started to discontinue the Ledger Nano S and then moved to the Ledger Nano X, which was also Bluetooth as well. And the fact that other ledgers out there were kind of Bitcoin only ledgers. And we were like, well, okay, that's obviously a lot safer. You don't really need those other shit coins on your ledger and that commingling. But ultimately, if there is a shit coin that is shit, then yeah, it could corrupt your whole account and leave you penniless.
The fuck you, shitcoiners. But yeah, it's a good old supply chain attack. It's an interesting one. So for anyone that does have a ledger, like if you've got Bitcoin on your ledger, you don't have to be worried. This isn't going to affect you. But essentially, there's a shared app that the Ledger Connect kit uses, and basically there's software libraries that are commonly used in lots of apps, and this is very common in software development that libraries are just plugged in, and essentially all it really means is that instead of recoding every single bit of code from scratch every single time you build an app or any kind of web development or software development, nearly everyone uses libraries. It just does the foundational part of coding is just drag and dropped, put in, and then you just put your custom code on top of that. So what someone did in here is that one of the libraries that Ledger uses got hacked. They got compromised. So when the person then went to use this, it was some type of connection to some shitcoin trading thing. So when you send your shitcoin from Ledger using this library and you were sending it out to trade it or exchange it, I'm not really sure what they would be doing. Basically, it just sent all your shitcoin to them. It didn't do anything that you wanted it to do. It just drained the entire wallet to zero. And so the hack has been found, and Ledger were like, "Oh shit, that isn't. There's no code we wrote. It's just a library that we share with pretty much every crypto app out there." Guess what? Someone hacked it, leaked in a very serious compromised attack, which basically drains your entire wallet instead of just sending the little bit of crypto you intended on sending. And this it's kind of crazy. This is it's very, very scary, right? Because the whole this is a supply chain attack when it
I
comes to
remember
software. This
this
could happen
now.
on any hardware wallet.
We talked about this from the government doing it from the inside and obviously compromising the ledger this way,
Hmm.
if you recall. And so this is how they kind of attack Bitcoin by obviously not just the propaganda, but
Yeah,
they attack it through the ledger companies.
absolutely. We need to be extremely careful, right? This is why one of my like bits of guidance is, when every time there's an update, no matter what hardware wallet you use, don't click update straight away. You don't know what's
Mm.
in it. let let thousands of other people send and receive Bitcoin on your hardware wallet before you test that software, right? If there's a hack
Mm.
involved and something's been compromised, there's a dodgy library that's been downloaded, and because normally it's interesting. This is the first time I've actually seen a supply chain attack related to software. Usually, it's actually in the chips and the physical hardware itself. That's where Bitcoin has been suspicious before, right? Because there is the potential that literally the chips and the memory that is put into a ledger or a Jade or a cold card or whatever, that could be loaded up with compromised software that the second someone then programs that to do whatever, it's this dormant code is just sat there, and then the second you fire it up as a Bitcoin wallet, at some point in the future, it could just drain it because the code is already there, and the supplier is three chain lines or chain links up the supply chain from, say, Blockstream, who make Jade. They obviously they put the components together and load up the software. So there's a chance of infiltration there. But what we're talking about is, yeah, but where do they buy the microchips from? Where do they buy the memory from? Has someone compromised those companies and loaded those memory chips or with compromised software? So again, it's scary stuff, but in this land, it's shitcoiners getting fucked by compromised libraries. So we don't care as Bitcoiners, but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. Yeah, but I don't. it's just one of those things like Ledger. I think it's move away, isn't it? As a recommendation, move to Jade, move to Cold Card, move to something which is specialized and isn't shitcoining, and also which is transparent with what it's doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one, bloody Telegraph article, but a funny one because I couldn't actually. So this is where someone has written to Victoria, who's obviously some investing legend within the Telegraph, and said, "Dear Victoria, here's my portfolio. I would be interested in your thoughts. We're a couple, a retired teacher, age 61, and still working teacher, age 57, with two grown-ups, independent children. We have a net income of 48,000 per annum. So in my portfolio, there's cold stored offline Bitcoin of 900,000, cold stored Ether of 194, cash of 150,000, and then no money in property. So I'm guessing that's rented and no pension. They must have slammed in 2020, mustn't they? Or they could get their hands on a pension. It's the first thing which came to my mind. But then I couldn't read the article because I don't have a Telegraph subscription. But reading through the comments, there's some. So Victoria does actually reply, and it's what you expect. Dear T, your portfolio made of just Bitcoin, Ether, and cash would give most financial advisors a heart attack. To me, it looks like a ticking time bomb, leaving you in danger of losing that hard-earned wealth unless you take drastic action as soon as possible. What I find really interesting about this is if Victoria was actually a clued up financial advisor who actually understood the market, she'd be saying, okay, maybe you should have all your money in Bitcoin, but there's the rumored ETF which could be coming in next year and that can make you very rich. So it's worth at least having a decent amount of your stake in there, maybe the rest of it used for property. But she goes on and says there's almost no diversification, no allocation to traditional asset classes like stocks, bonds. We love bonds, or property, and you load up on way too much risk. I'm also concerned that you have zero pensions accrued, but I'll come back to that later. Why the fuck do you need a pension when you've retired? You know, bonds are just we saw it when the interest rates went up, but bonds basically fell apart, didn't they? So the less said about them, the better. And then blah blah blah. And she mentions about investing equity funds covering the world's major investment economies such as US, continental Europe, UK, Japan. Isn't Japan been flat for 30 years?
Yeah, since the 90s.
So this is some absolute quality advice by Victoria about what to invest in, not considering what the state of the market is, and telling the person to invest in Japan, which has been flat since the mid-90s.
I can only assume this is a bit of a troll because
No, this is
this
just normie
person,
land.
yeah, well, the person that's put in, like, whoever T is, the fact they've got offline Bitcoin are basically £1 million, right? They got some ETH, like, I'll forgive them, like, whatever. They got a couple hundred grand of that. They got a nice, like, stock load of cash that will get them through a few hard winters. But they got zero in property, zero in pensions. It's almost just this is just such a hardcore kind of Bitcoiner portfolio. And to write into the Guardian and go, what do you think? Have you got any advice? And the fact that they earn 48K a year between two people, right?
Well,
So,
one's retired.
well, yeah. Oh, okay. So maybe just the one person earns 48K. Okay, I was assuming the two of them earn that. But they've clearly been buying Bitcoin for a while to have
Yeah,
accrued that amount. They clearly know what they're doing.
yeah,
And to have written into the Guardian and go, here's my portfolio. Of course they're going to go, well, sell all your Bitcoin, sell all your Ether, and buy bonds and the S&P 500, put it in a Vanguard, get some ISAs. It's like, if you'd have listened to that advice before you became a millionaire, you would still be poor because the S&P, the Vanguards, and the ISAs haven't done shit for 10 years. Bitcoin has made you a millionaire. So what are you gonna do to your
Yeah.
Bitcoin
But
investment,
it's
which made you a
also
millionaire, sell it all and put it into a Vanguard that makes you 4% a year when inflation is
go and
10.
buy, yeah, go and buy some bonds, which the rates are going down. So it'll probably be like 1.5% in bonds, and then you can also invest the rest into Japan. But yeah, I think it is a troll who's written in just to see what the response is. But like I said, it's a whole fact that she doesn't mention the ETF and the halving. You know, these are the two things which you should be looking at as we'll use
And
it
just timing as
in
well.
yeah,
You know,
independent financial advisor. But if you're truly an independent financial advisor, you should be looking into what is coming up, what are the big things which will affect investments, and she's shown no knowledge there at all.
yeah. I know we've obviously heavily talked about the ETFs, but Bitcoin is just a natural game theory, isn't it? Of like the scarcity which Satoshi's already built into it, and Satoshi had no knowledge of an impending ETF coming. So the fact is, the halving of the blocks continue every 4 years, and so naturally the price should increase. The additional factors of things like the ETF, what's happening in the world with war, because it seems as though every time that something like that is going on, the price increases because people are realizing that rather than fleeing to gold, which is that physical asset and seen as that physical safe haven, they realize and understand that actually, if I want to move my wealth here, there, and everywhere, it's better digitally and remembering 12 or 24 words, and I can set up life again somewhere else. So yeah, I think it's just inevitable, as Mr. Orlin says at the back of yeah, in the back of the office.
Yeah, it's like I'd like to see it that whole portfolio is true. Like if that is genuinely a boomer portfolio,
Mm,
I'd love to see it. I just think there's got to be some kind of troll, and they've just sent that in to go. Let's just see what they say, and very predictably they've gone, oh, you just need to shove it into all this stuff, and you go, if I shove it all in that stuff, I retire at 65. You know,
yeah.
really, these guys are in their 60s, like potentially, and they've pretty much just about reached a nice pension portfolio, but the
Or
only
maybe it's just Ralph.
I hope it's you, Ralph.
Well, it's one of those where, like, to be that old, to be 61 and have zero in your pension, it's nearly impossible, right? Because
That's what I mean.
Mm.
But then again,
I have
what
like I have more money than I would like in a
you
pension.
can empty your pension at 58, isn't it?
Yeah, because I paid into it in my 20s, which I hugely regret now, and I wish I could get it back, but I can't. So I'm like, if I was to write that out, I'd have to put a number in the pension pot that I am
But
ashamed of,
yeah, one
but
of
I've
them
got to write
60,
it because I
one
put
of
it
them
in, I can't
six.
get it back.
They're both over the age, aren't they? So one's, oh no, 57 and 61. So a 61-year old could have emptied their pension, whereas a 57-year-old couldn't.
Yeah, be hilarious if that's the case. They literally just went, "Oh yeah, I did have hundreds of thousands that I paid into in my pension. I was converted all to Bitcoin, smashed it."
Well, yeah.
That would be amazing. But anyway, we've got two light-hearted stories to finish off the pod anyway. Should we move on to them?
Yeah, let's do it. So going back to the theme, NFTs. So NFTs are so bad that somebody's created a business so that people can sell their NFTs off for tax loss harvesting. And it's interesting because this is roughly the time of year when people will be doing that, certainly in the US, when the end of the financial year is coming about. And that's why we sometimes see a lot of volatility towards the end of December and then growth in January because people are rebuying back into Bitcoin. So you can, if you were stupid enough to buy an NFT, there you go. You've got a business to shift them and then make that loss.
Yeah, they'll basically buy your NFT off you for 1 penny.
Yeah.
Because apparently what people have done, right, is they bought these NFTs for thousands, maybe even tens of thousands. And it's the end of the tax year. And let's just assume that hopefully some of these morons bought some Bitcoin or maybe some stocks or something. So they've actually made gains on that area, right? So as we know about the tax system, you only pay profit on your gains. So let's say you've made 100K of gains on Bitcoin this year, but you've lost 30K by speculating these NFT bullshit things. The problem is with an NFT, to prove that you've lost the 30K, you have to be able to sell it. You have to sell it at a loss. You can't just hold the thing. If you just hold 30K worth of JPEGs and you didn't actually do a transaction to transfer it to someone, then the loss hasn't been traded. It hasn't become a thing. So there's literally a company called Unsellable NFTs that now exists that will buy any bullshit NFT that you've got for 1 penny. So you can take your 20K NFT, sell it to them for a penny. At least you can lock in the 20K loss, and you can put that against your 100K of Bitcoin gains and knock it down to 80K and only pay capital gains tax on the 80K, not the 100. And there's a screenshot in here saying this might be the best business idea I've seen in crypto. Well done, lads. And it's like, you know what? Crypto is a fucking fantastic way of harvesting losses. I agree. So the fact this company exists is probably the best idea that crypto has had, because crypto is a great way to lose money. And now that you can do tax loss harvesting like this to reduce your capital gains tax that you will make on Bitcoin, fantastic. Congratulations, lads. You've smashed it because you're not making gains, so you might as well harvest your losses.
Yeah. Efficiently, tax efficiently.
Even their reply, right? It's like, thanks for the kind words. We were frustrated ourselves as NFT investors that we couldn't even realize our losses from rugs due to illiquidity. We realized there were 23 million NFT investors in the same boat and are here to unlock tax savings for a large portion of them. It's good. Were there really 23 million people doing this bullshit? And I can see it. I think there probably was that amount of people that, geez, I was going on stag do's a year or two ago and people were talking about NFTs to me. And they were telling me, I've heard you're a Bitcoiner, you get into NFTs. And I went, bro, like you're going to be wrecked in a year's time. And they went, we've made 6 grand in 3 weeks. And I'm like, mate, it's not going to last. It's not. And now they're going to be signing up to this service to fucking tax losses.
It's going to be a graveyard of JPEGs.
So I can believe there's at least 23 million because I you know, like how we talk about meeting Bitcoiners in the wild and it's rare.
Yeah.
When I was out in the world, I was meeting NFT fuckers everywhere. They were fucking everywhere. So I believe there was at least 23 million of them. And this is the only use case for NFTs, right? Lose loads of money.
Yeah.
So when you actually do spend your Bitcoin on something, when you're buying your Citadel or you're buying your freaking Cybertruck or whatever you want to buy, there you go.
Yeah.
Lose 40K in it doesn't make sense, by the way. You lose 40K in an NFT. You didn't save you 40K of tax. It just means it knocks 40K off your capital gains, which means the 40K, there's 20% of that. So it means you will save 8K of tax. So for every 10K that you lose in NFTs, you will save 2K of tax. You're still 8K down. It's better not to buy the NFTs. It's better just to pay the tax. But if you have been a moron, you can at least offset these losses against your Bitcoin gains if you are selling some Bitcoin to buy your Citadel or do whatever. But It's just hilarious, right? The fact that this company even exists is hilarious.
Well, again, it just shows something that was never ever thought about in terms of the creation of it, and again, another offspring of Bitcoin. All right, let's hit the last story, and that last story is what a way to orange pill someone by accident. So, quite long. Well, no, it's not that long. Basically, a Bitcoiner regularly draws drawings and has prints made up, and he tries to craft a new Bitcoin drawing every month and have it scanned and then commissioned in terms of the prints. And so far, there have been 25 different drawings, all of which deal with Bitcoin in one way or another. When he unpacked yesterday's delivery, he received a small handwritten message on the piece of paper saying, "Thank you for showing me Bitcoin." Anyway, cut long story short, for anybody obviously that's listening or you're watching on YouTube, definitely click on the link. You'll be able to see the pictures. But it's all about the visuals of visualizing Bitcoin stories that have a meaning, that have sparked others to adopt Bitcoin.
Yes, it's a beautiful story, right? Because weirdly,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the guy is called Bitcoin Apex, and yeah, he has his domain name is Bitcoin Apex Art, and you can buy prints of his artwork. And the one of the first pictures you'll see on the website, I accidentally have used this picture as one of our thumbnails. I didn't know it was this guy. I just saw someone share a picture on Bitcoin Twitter. I just, as I do on all JPEGs, just right click save,
Yeah, right click save.
saved it to the camera roll, and then waited for a good time to use it. So you can buy his prints for about 20 euros if you want. There's some special editions and stuff which he charges significantly more for. But yeah, he's got a. I didn't. He's a very talented artist. He tends to do most of his. His whole concept is architecture and Bitcoin. And his theory is that you can't do architecture in the modern world. Architecture is so much more beautiful hundreds of years ago when we were on a gold standard as opposed to a fiat standard. Architecture now is just, as Saifedean says in the Bitcoin standard, it's cheap, it's thrown up quick, it all needs to return. The ROI on any building needs to be very short because the money is cheap. So return on value, return on investment has to be very quick. Whereas back in the day, people would spend generations, like literally hundreds of years. The person that architected and started the build of a building would die before it was even built, and their sons would carry it on, and even they might die before it was even finished. 200 years later, and hence we are left with these epic buildings, and so that's what his artwork is surrounded by. He focuses a lot on the architecture in his work, and yeah, and it's amazing to think that the person that sat in the printing company that is just looking at these images, printing them, has actually gone. He's like, obviously over the last year that he's been doing this for, this person has just found out about Bitcoin and gone, oh my God, this is like, what is this Bitcoin thing? He's orange pilled himself off the back of it. And now he's literally sending a thank you message back to the artist going, thank you so much for telling me about Bitcoin via your images because I'm a Bitcoiner now.
Yeah.
What a way to become orange pilled, right? He's literally just sat in his printing company. I bet he had dodgy adverts for like freaking chocolate bars, freaking cinema films, like what all the kind of bollocks that you get as a printing company. And then he's got this little short run of some Bitcoin artwork, and that's what's got him.
Yeah.
And he's become a Bitcoiner off the back of that. That's awesome, isn't it?
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
remember what episode that we used the artwork for, because I do remember it's very striking in terms of the
so
detail and the level
it's
of
almost like a
detail.
bit like a church,
Yeah,
those kind of like paintings. So I was just having a look through
yeah,
his
I've got it
website.
here as well.
It's 108.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's the titled "How Finney is a Legend," and the artwork.
Mm,
It's
that was
his.
it.
I didn't realize it as Bitcoin Apex, but yeah, it's Bitcoin Apex's. So yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's
couple months
amazing.
ago.
Yeah, I really like it. Really
Not
nice.
many people saw that episode. No one. But however, episode 109, top selling episode.
Wow.
That's our number one episode, but episode 108, not so much.
Work in progress.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to think of
Yeah,
some catchy title and a nice picture for
yeah.
tonight's.
but but yeah, it got me interested in Bitcoin Apex's work and stuff, and he's got a load of prints on there for 20 euros, and yeah, I've been flicking through them and just going like, is there? Yeah, he's got lots of limited editions. They go for more like 180 euros, which
Yeah, I've just quickly looked at those as well.
they're a little bit more pricey, those ones, but his artwork is
Uh,
very, very good, right? It's
yeah, very good.
if you check his Twitter, it proves that like they really start off as rough sketches with pencil, and he fills it in and then goes around with pen, and it's very impressive. He's a very, very talented artist, this guy. And but yeah, what a way to
Right.
orange pill someone, eh? Like just to literally just be being an artist, plugging out your thing, plugging out some artwork, sending it out to some Bitcoiners that want to frame and put up your artwork in your house, and you accidentally orange pill the guy that's doing the printing down the printing house.
Has anyone in the group recently orange pilled anybody new? I can't say I have.
No, I keep on planting seeds about destroying people's view on money and government, but I don't think it's gone much beyond that.
Yeah,
They're just
it's
not ready for Bitcoin.
yeah, it's a real tough one, isn't it? It's
No.
no
I
matter
did the other
what you
day.
say. Yeah.
I got someone. It was the wife's niece has got a new boyfriend, and he's a bit of a trader into his forex stuff. Had a good chat with him over a lunch, got him into Bitcoin, and then chatted to the wife a few days later, going, "What does he think about me?" Go on, message your niece, ask her, and she's gone. He hasn't stopped talking about him. Now he's a massive Bitcoin. I can't stop him. I got him. Because he was he was a super smart lad who realized the government were full of shit, and he was just trying to beat inflation and he didn't know why. So I talked to him about the history of money, about why Bitcoin is the solution. He's gone off, he's had a little bit of a research, told him to read the Bitcoin standard. He's had a look at all these things and he's become obsessed. And he's gone, oh, the reason I'm trading Forex and doing all this is because I'm trying to beat inflation. I was
Mm,
like, I understand. I was in your position. I did the same
mm,
things. And if you want to listen to my 20 years of experience, I can jump you straight to the solution now. You don't need to go through the 20 years of pain that I did. Dude, because I did poker, I did day trading, I did then stock trading, all what I thought was trying to like make my millions and stuff. But in reality, I was just trying to beat inflation. I was trying to make my savings matter. So I told him all these things and just went, look, Bitcoin is the future. And all you got to do is put your money in and hodl. And it's a nice little cheat code. So I got him. He was ripe. He was if he was an apple, he'd have been nearly ripe for picking. He was just a little bit raw. And I just like shined some sun on it and he blossomed and he's a Bitcoiner now. So that was an
I,
easy one. It was like the door was already half open. I was had to push it. It's just it's a nice easy one. Because but I think that's almost the key. Like the people I've tried to orange pill up until now have been very resistant. They've been very entrenched in their like financial means. This lad was 21. He was very
Mm,
new, very intelligent. I already knew a lot about the government that I didn't know at his age. He knew it was bollocks. He knew they were lying to him. He knew he had to find his own way. He just didn't know what the way was. And
yeah.
after a couple of hour chat with me over dinner, uh, he got it. And he's a Bitcoiner now. He's like, all right, fine, Bitcoin.
You sent him a link to the pod.
No, but I can. We're not that helpful.
Oh, we don't want extra subscribers and listeners, but I actually do. Well, I did actually get somebody to invest in Bitcoin. So it was a customer that I met with, and she said that she was already interested in Bitcoin, but she just didn't actually know how to go about it. So to your point, yeah, I think a lot of the time we try to orange pill people who are just, walls and the walls are up, not interested. No, whereas she was definitely prone and open to listening. So right there on the spot, she created a Coinbase account, put bangs in 50 quid. And I said, that's all you need. Just watch it. And a couple of weeks later, I spoke to her again and I said, oh, it's like you look like a genius trader because it went from 20K to 30 or even more. She says, yeah, I know. And I put in another 50K, sorry, 50 quid as well.
Oh.
So, not 50K, I know. Whoa, 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 no, 50 quid. So yeah, it was good timing, and I have been able to orange pill somebody else.
So all we got to do is got to keep doing one person every couple of months, and we'll get there. And I've realized, I think you have to wait for people to come to you. Like
Mm.
this lad that I orange pilled, he came to me. I purposely, I knew like I'd already spoken to the niece, and she was like, "Oh, I've met this really nice lad on holiday. Da, da, da. He's into his like trading. He'll really like you." I'm like, just so you know, on Bitcoin Maxi, let him know that. Don't let him, don't let him come to me with any forex trading, NFT, shitcoin bollocks.
Are you hoping for this relationship to go anywhere? Because if not, like, don't send him near me.
Yeah, so I made sure I prefixed it with that before.
Yeah,
And then she like the next like a couple of weeks later, she's like, "Oh, I want to come around for lunch and stuff." So I'm like, oh, "Okay." Like, so she's obviously had the chat. She knows what my boundaries are. So if he wants to bring stuff up, he can bring stuff up. But I'm not going to go there
yeah,
because if he does bring it up, I'm going to shut it down and go, "You a moron." So, but I won't bring it up. And then the second like he had the opportunity to talk about money, he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this, 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 and this." I was like, "Okay, okay." And had a nice little chat, and yeah, but yeah, he came to me, right? And she knew that like he knew some stuff, but she knew that also he was a little bit lost, and she wanted
mm,
him to have help from me. So it was a whole combo of they were looking for guidance. And I'm like, okay, I will listen to your current situation and I'll just tell you what I would do. You can do whatever you want, but this is what I would do. This is what I did, and this is what worked for me. You do what you want to do. And then left him with it for a couple of days, and they come back and gone, he's he's now become a Bitcoin. You go, there you go. These are the people we need, right? They're the people looking for answers. They're like lost, and they realize the fiat system is against them. They are fighting against it, but they're fighting a losing battle because they're playing in the system.
yeah,
Literally, this guy was trying to trade euros against the yen and yen against the dollar, and I was like, dude, do you know any of the macroeconomics about all this stuff? He's like, no. It's like, do you have any insight into why one currency above another? He's looking at candles on charts that he'd read on books that were written in the 80s. I'm like, it's like, dude, you're playing a game that the rules have changed so many times. You are likely going to lose everything you're gambling. Stop gambling and playing their game. Come out of that system. put it into Bitcoin. It's a much easier game to play. You put it in, you leave it, and you win.
Mm.
You don't need to bet the yen against the dollar today and then the dollar against the euro tomorrow. Like, gee, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop it.
Do you
Get
recall
into
when I
Bitcoin,
mentioned?
hodl it.
Do you recall when I mentioned someone asked me about Bitcoin, and I said obviously get the book, and then I asked whether or not I should ask them whether they got it, and I just left it, and that was months ago. And then eventually I saw him, and I was just like, oh, how's things coming along? And he didn't buy the book, he didn't invest, and he's still in there. And I was just like, I feel like they're just destined to stay in that fiat merry-go-round. And because some of the decisions that he's making and doing, I was just like, yeah, I don't think there's any hope for you right now. You've got to make it and get there by yourself, because at this moment in time, you are lost.
Yeah. What I've realized is it's youngsters. It's the new generation that are just becoming like into the working category. They're coming out of education and they're just working. They're so awake because they've the one commonality that I've realized actually is the whole lockdown and all that stuff. That really woke a lot of the youngsters up about how authoritarian and corrupt the government is.
Mm.
So that's what
Yeah,
woke
you're
him up.
right.
He literally said
Yeah.
before all that, if anything came out on the BBC, he would 100% believe in it. He would treat it completely as read. And then those 2 years happened. He goes, I don't believe anything they say now.
Yeah, I'll go so far as to say that as well. I never actually thought that the BBC was, that rogue, but it's more rogue than
It's
rogue.
literally a government-funded website, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
and it really woke him up. So I think there's a lot of people like him. So I think if you know any 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old, 24, 25, like these are the people that I think we need to go and have a word with. Because at the moment, what they're doing is they're day trading, they're gambling, they're going into shit coins, they're going into NFTs. And all that's happening is that they're falling into further scams and getting wrecked again. And if there's any people that you know that are like that, just gently guide them towards the nice kind of sanctuary of
yeah.
Bitcoin, which it's I just love talking about it because the reason why the conversation was 2 hours because he pushed back a lot. He's like, "What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that?" And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is you just have data on your side. It's just nice and sound. It's just I have all the data points, all the scarcity, all the history of Bitcoin, the unique conception of it, and you just go, it's so easy. I just love the questions because it was just
Mm,
because I knew what he was doing. He's comparing his day trading with Bitcoin. And let's go. That's an unknown. This is a known. That's unknown.
mm,
Bitcoin's a known. Unknown, known. And you just go, and over the course of 2 hours, he just had nothing left. It was like, okay. Like it's I guess I'm a Bitcoiner now. And you go, oh yeah,
yeah,
it is if you're an intelligent person and you ask the right questions, you get to Bitcoin in the end. That's why we're all here, right?
yeah,
Hence
yeah.
why
You're
a
right.
Bitcoiners continue to grow. And like Bitcoiners don't, when it's not like a sieve where Bitcoiners fall out the bottom and end up being something else. Like once you're a Bitcoiner, you're in for life
Yeah,
because you've essentially been orange pilled and you see the world for what it really is. You don't just suddenly become orange pilled and then something happens and you go back to fiat land. Like that, name me a Bitcoin that's gone back to fiat land. Like there isn't one because you can't go back to fiat land.
yeah. I think it's because though with Bitcoin you have to satisfy those answers in your mind. It's not just a case of binary, oh, fiat's bad. Okay, cool, I'm with Bitcoin. You have to answer a lot of
Yeah.
questions
Which is
before
why
you
is
trust
Bitcoin
it.
better than that fiat that is bad?
Yeah, yeah. So your 2 hour thing, and obviously, as Michael Saylor always talks about, got to do hundreds of hours in order to get there, and he's a super smart guy, then that actually then got him over the line. But prior to then, obviously, he wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think
Right.
as we've discussed before, it's like one of those where sometimes people are like invested in the money, in the government, in their like investing strategies, what their parents have done, in pensions. So someday you have to unlearn all of that to get the
Yes.
Bitcoin stuff.
Yeah.
But what I've
Yeah.
realized about the youngsters is they have to unlearn a lot less. Like they've
Yes.
started to learn that, but they're only like a couple of percent in. So over the last 2 years of lockdown, he unlearned all that and threw it in the bin and was starting from scratch, going, I'm open to knowing what the future is, but I don't know what the solution is. So he was experimenting with what he thought it was. And once he listened to someone like me and went, oh, it's probably this, I would really recommend you do that. He went, yes. But I didn't have to like convince him that a pension was bad and that like your Vanguard was a waste of time and that stocks are like largely a scam and that your ISA is a load of bollocks. I didn't have to do any of that because he didn't have 30 years of investing in all that stuff and then having to admit that he was wrong. He'd already admitted he was wrong. He'd already got over that. And he was like, I know I was wrong. I've thrown it all in the bin. Now I'm just in a state of I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
gave him a little
Because
bit of guidance and he was like latched onto it. Like, okay,
yeah.
great. Perfect place to drop an orange pill in and find a new Bitcoiner. And then he's gonna go off and hopefully going orange pills like freaking 30 of his mates. And you're like, there we go. That's how we do it.
Right. Well, I think that's a very positive end to Pod 124. That's been brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, So Never Look, aka the Excellence of Execution, and Mrs. No Show, the fourth member who never regularly turns up, aka Mrs. No Show. Peace.